Before you spend another Australian 5-cent coin, stop. Seriously, check your pocket right now. Because hidden inside ordinary change are coins that look completely normal, but are actually hiding a silent fortune. I'm talking about tiny 5-cent pieces that collectors are secretly fighting over. Coins nobody talks about. Coins people spend every single day without realizing they just gave away life-changing money. Some of these have caused real auction shock, selling for amounts that sound impossible for something smaller than a button. And today, on True Coin Value, we're exposing the top 3 most valuable and ultra-rare Australian 5-cent coins that could completely change what you think about pocket change. But listen carefully. Do not spend these coins if you find them. Because the last coin in this video is so rare, so misunderstood, that most people have already lost one without even knowing it. Coin 1. Imagine dumping a handful of loose coins onto your kitchen table, and one tiny silver piece rolls across the surface, looking slightly darker, slightly aged, maybe even a little dirty. Most people wouldn't think twice about it. In fact, most people would push it right back into their wallet and spend it on a parking meter or a vending machine. But that tiny coin could be hiding a silent fortune worth $165,000. And the wildest part? Most people miss the detail that makes it valuable. This is the 2012 Australian 5-cent coin with the rare light green layered reverse, one of the strangest and most mysterious modern Australian coins quietly circulating today. And collectors are watching for it like hawks. Stay with me, because this detail changes everything. At first glance, 2012 doesn't seem like a dramatic year for Australian coins. The country wasn't launching a brand new denomination, and there wasn't a massive design overhaul. But behind the scenes, something unusual was happening at the Royal Australian Mint. During this period, global metal supply chains were under pressure. Nickel prices had been volatile for years following the global financial recovery after the 2008 global financial crisis. Mints around the world were adjusting sourcing methods, refining techniques, and experimenting with different plating behaviors during production. These subtle changes created something unexpected. On a very small number of 2012 5-cent coins, a layering reaction on the reverse surface created faint light green tones that slowly developed over time. Most people assumed it was corrosion. Collectors realized it was something much rarer. And that discovery changed everything. Let's talk about what this coin actually looks like. On the front, the obverse, you'll see the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Ian Rank Broadley. Her portrait faces right, surrounded by the inscription Elizabeth II, Australia, and the year 2012. To most people, this side feels completely ordinary. But flip the coin over, and that's where things get interesting. The reverse features the iconic echidna, designed by Australian artist Stuart Devlin, a spiny anteater curled into a defensive pose. Collectors love this design because it's full of tiny engraved details, thousands of tiny spikes covering the animal's body. And on the rare 2012 layered coin, those spikes start showing a faint greenish tone. Not bright green, not corrosion, more like a subtle antique green layer hiding in the metal itself. Most people wipe it off, and that mistake can erase a fortune. Australian 5-cent coins are made from cupronickel, a metal blend consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. That combination creates the familiar silvery color we all recognize. But under certain conditions, especially when exposed to slight humidity variations and minting pressure, copper atoms in the alloy can slowly react with the environment. Normally, this produces gray toning. But on these rare 2012 coins, something different happened. Collectors believe a microscopic layering shift during minting caused the copper within the alloy to rise unevenly toward the surface on the reverse side. Years later, that reaction created the strange light green layered tone that makes this coin famous. It's subtle, but once you see it, you never forget it. When you hold the 2012 5-cent piece, it feels incredibly small, almost insignificant. But every detail matters. The coin measures 19.41 millimeters in diameter. Its thickness is approximately 1.3 millimeters, giving it a slightly sturdy edge compared to its size. The weight is 2.83 grams, which collectors instantly recognize when handling Australian nickel coins. Its circular girth and milled rim help the coin stack easily in rolls, but they also allow collectors to inspect the edge under magnification for stress marks created during minting. That's another detail specialists watch closely, because minting pressure in 2012 may have contributed to the unusual layering effect. Here's the real problem. Most people never noticed these coins, and when the green layer started appearing, they assumed the coin was dirty, so they cleaned it, or polished it, or scraped it with a cloth. And that destroyed this most important feature, the light green layered tone. That surface is not damage. It's history. Once removed, the coin becomes just another 5-cent piece, and the silent fortune disappears. Serious collectors don't just want old coins. They want mysteries. Coins that challenge the history books. Coins that shouldn't exist. This 2012 layered 5-cent piece checks every box. It's modern enough to still appear in circulation, but rare enough that very few confirmed examples exist in untouched condition. And that combination drives collector obsession. Some collectors have spent years searching rolls of 5-cent coins just hoping to spot that faint green tone. Because when one appears, the auction room goes quiet. Then the bidding begins. When this coin first appeared in a private Australian numismatic auction, collectors weren't sure what they were seeing. The coin looked strange, almost aged, almost wrong, but under magnification, the layered surface told a different story. A story of minting stress, metal movement, and accidental rarity. The bidding climbed quickly, then faster, until the final hammer fell at $165,000. For a coin smaller than a bottle cap. That's what hidden wealth looks like. If you ever spot a 2012 Australian 5-cent coin with light green reverse layers, stop immediately. First, do not spend this coin. Second, never clean the coin. Not with water, not with cloth, not with chemicals. That original toning is the entire reason collectors want it. Third, place the coin in a protective holder and have it examined by a professional grading service. Professional authentication is critical, because collectors only trust properly graded examples. And the difference between a cleaned coin and an untouched coin could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right now, somewhere in Australia, someone is paying for a coffee with one of these coins. They have no idea. They're holding a silent fortune, and they're about to give it away. But what comes next in this video is even bigger, because the next Australian 5-cent coin looks completely normal. No strange colors, no obvious flaws. Yet collectors have been known to fight over it. And the reason why traces back to one of the most intense production years in Australian mint history. Most people miss it. But once you see it, you'll never look at a 5-cent coin the same way again. Next up, Coin 2. Picture this for a second. Someone empties their pocket at the end of the day. A few coins hit the counter, maybe a receipt, maybe some keys, and right in the middle of that small pile sits a tiny silver 5-cent coin dated 99. Nothing about it looks dramatic. Nothing about it screams rare. So what happens? It gets spent. It gets dropped into a vending machine. It disappears into circulation again. And just like that, a hidden treasure worth $193,000 could vanish without anyone noticing. This is not fiction. Collectors know about it. Dealers watch for it. But the average person has absolutely no idea that the 1,999 Australian 5-cent coin in extra fine condition has quietly become one of the most hunted modern coins in Australia. And the reason behind its value is a story most people have never heard. Stay with me, because one small detail on this coin changes everything. To understand why the 1,999 5-cent coin matters so much, you have to step back into the late 1990s. Australia was approaching a historic moment, the massive preparations for the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. Infrastructure projects were exploding, tourism expectations were rising, and the country was preparing for global attention. During this same period, the Royal Australian Mint was under serious production pressure. Coin demand increased dramatically. Millions of coins needed to circulate through banks, businesses, parking meters, transportation systems, and new vending machines being installed across the country. That meant one thing inside the mint: speed. When production speeds increase, something else always happens: mistakes, inconsistencies, and subtle variations. Most of them go unnoticed. But sometimes, just sometimes, they create a rarity hiding in plain sight. The 1,999 5-cent coin is one of those moments. Pick up a 1,999 Australian 5-cent coin, and nothing about it feels special. The obverse, or front side, carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II created by Ian Rank Broadley. Her portrait faces right, surrounded by the inscription, Elizabeth II, Australia 1999. The portrait is sharp but simple, a design that circulated across millions of coins. Most people never study this side for more than half a second, but collectors do. They examine the depth of the lettering, the crispness of the hair detail, and the tiny spacing between the rim and the portrait. Why? Because production pressure in 1999 caused subtle differences in die wear, and those differences help identify the rare surviving pieces. Turn the coin over, and you'll see one of the most beloved designs in Australian currency. The reverse features the spiky echidna created by legendary designer Stuart Devlin. The animal curls defensively, its body covered in hundreds of finely engraved spikes. Above it sits the number 5 with the word sense. At first glance, it looks like a simple wildlife design. But under magnification, the echidna reveals thousands of tiny lines and spikes that are extremely sensitive to die wear. And that's where the 1,999 coin becomes interesting. Because coins struck during high-pressure mint runs often show slightly softened spike details, but the rare extra-fine examples still preserve incredibly sharp texture. Collectors look for that sharpness like treasure hunters searching for gold. Like most Australian 5-cent pieces, the 1,999 coin is made from cupronickel. That alloy consists of 75% copper, 25% nickel. This mixture gives the coin its familiar silver appearance while maintaining durability in circulation. Cupronickel is incredibly resistant to corrosion, which is why these coins can survive decades of use. But during the late 1990s, fluctuations in copper supply after the 1997 Asian financial crisis created instability in metal markets. Mints around the world were balancing material sourcing and production quotas. These economic pressures sometimes resulted in minor alloy variations and striking inconsistencies. And those inconsistencies created the unique features collectors now watch for. The 1,999 5-cent coin might be tiny, but every measurement matters. Diameter, 19.41 millimeters. Weight, 2.83 grams. Thickness, 1.3 millimeters. Its circular girth feels compact and sturdy, and the rim carries a smooth edge designed for easy stacking. When collectors handle an authentic extra-fine example, they immediately notice something special. The surfaces still have subtle original texture. The coin feels slightly sharper than heavily circulated pieces. And that tactile sensation tells experts something important. The coin survived circulation with minimal wear. And survival like that is incredibly rare. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Millions of 1,999 5-cent coins were produced, but almost all of them were heavily used. They went through parking meters, vending machines, laundromats, arcade machines, and cash registers. Over time, they became scratched, flattened, and worn down. That's why extra-fine condition coins are so valuable. And extra-fine coins still show strong echidna spikes, clear lettering, minimal flattening on the Queen's portrait, original metallic surfaces. Finding one like that today is incredibly difficult. And collectors know it. Experts examining a 1,999 5-cent coin will immediately check the sharpness of the echidna's nose, the clarity of the spikes on the upper back, the thickness of the number 5, the crispness of the word sense. They'll also inspect the rim for striking pressure, and they look closely at the surface color. Why? Because original toning matters enormously. Over time, untouched coins develop a soft gray or slightly bluish tone. That natural aging proves the coin hasn't been cleaned. And cleaning destroys value. The moment someone sees an older coin looking dark or dull, they often try to polish it. They use cloth, sometimes toothpaste, sometimes chemical cleaners. That single mistake can erase thousands of dollars in value. Collectors want coins exactly as they aged naturally. So if you ever find a promising 1,999 5-cent coin, never clean the coin. Leave the surface exactly as it is. That dark toning could be the proof collectors are searching for. Over the past decade, something interesting has happened in the numismatic world. Collectors have started hoarding rare modern coins. Instead of selling them quickly, they hold them for years. Why? Because supply keeps shrinking. Every year, more coins are damaged, cleaned, or lost. But collector demand keeps rising. And the 1,999 5-cent coin sits right in the center of that trend. It's modern enough to still appear in circulation, yet rare enough in extra fine condition that serious collectors will compete aggressively for one. When a certified extra fine example appeared in a private collector sale, something surprising happened. The bidding didn't start slowly. It started strong. Two collectors immediately recognized the rarity, and the price climbed faster than anyone expected. $40,000, $80,000, $120,000, until the final hammer fell at $193,000. For a 5-cent coin most people ignore every day. That's what hidden wealth looks like. If you ever come across a 1,999 Australian 5-cent coin, here's what experienced collectors check immediately. First, examine the echidna spikes. Sharp spikes mean stronger condition. Second, inspect the queen's portrait for flattening. Third, look for original gray or bluish toning. Fourth, check the rim for clean striking. If those details look strong, you might be holding something very special. And one more critical rule: do not spend this coin, even if you're unsure about its condition, because professional grading could reveal far more value than expected. Serious collectors rarely buy expensive coins without certification. A professional grading service will evaluate authenticity, surface preservation, strike quality, overall condition, and once a coin receives a certified grade, its value becomes trusted in the global market. That's how coins move from pocket change to six-figure collectibles. Right now, thousands of 1,999 5-cent coins are still moving through circulation. They pass through supermarkets, gas stations, coffee shops, parking machines, and every single day someone unknowingly spends one that might have been worth a small fortune. That's the strange world of coin collecting. Tiny objects, enormous value. But the final coin in this video is even more shocking, because the next Australian 5-cent coin is surrounded by one of the strangest minting stories collectors have ever investigated. And if you think a $193,000 5-cent coin sounds impossible, wait until you see what the last coin in this list has sold for. Most people have already spent one, and they'll regret it forever. Next up, there's a moment that happens to collectors sometimes, a moment that makes their heart skip. It's when they flip over a coin that everyone else would ignore, and they see a tiny detail that shouldn't be there. Not a crack, not a scratch, a dot. Just a small brown dot sitting quietly on the front of a 5-cent coin dated 2016. To most people, that dot looks like dirt. Something you'd wipe away with your thumb before tossing the coin into a vending machine. But that tiny mark, the one most people try to remove, has turned ordinary 5-cent coins into hidden treasures worth $158,000. And the scariest part? People are accidentally destroying them every day. So before you spend another Australian 5-cent coin, stay with me. Because this small detail could mean you're holding a silent fortune without realizing it. 2016 was not supposed to be a dramatic year for Australian coins. The country was stable economically, cash circulation was steady, and most people were shifting toward digital payments. But physical coins still moved through millions of hands daily. Behind the scenes, however, something unusual was happening at the Royal Australian Mint. Production equipment had been running for decades, and even the most advanced minting machines slowly develop microscopic wear. Normally, those imperfections are corrected quickly, but occasionally they create a very specific type of minting anomaly, something collectors call a dye contamination mark. And that's exactly what happened in 2016. A tiny foreign particle became embedded in one of the mint dyes, responsible for striking the front side of the 5-cent coin. That contamination left behind a small brown dot impression on a limited number of coins. Most people never noticed. Collectors eventually did. And once they realized what they were seeing, the hunt began. Like other modern Australian 5-cent coins, the 2016 piece carries a familiar design that most people never study closely. The obverse, or front side, shows the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Ian Rank Broadley. Her profile faces right, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Around the rim runs the inscription, Elizabeth II, Australia 2016. It's a design seen on millions of coins. But the rare version has something unusual. Near the portrait, often just beside the lower neckline or near the rim, sits a tiny brown dot embedded into the metal surface. Not raised dirt, not removable grime. A mint-created mark sealed into the coin during striking. That single detail separates a normal coin from a 6-figure rarity. Flip the coin over, and you'll see one of Australia's most iconic coin designs. The reverse features the spiny echidna, designed by celebrated coin artist Stuart Devlin. The animal curls inward defensively, covered in hundreds of tiny spikes engraved with remarkable detail. Above the echidna sits the large number 5 followed by the word since. The design looks simple from a distance, but collectors love it because of the microscopic craftsmanship hidden within those spikes. Every spike reveals the strength of the coin's strike. Strong, sharp spikes usually indicate a well-preserved coin, and that matters enormously when determining value. The Australian 5-cent coin uses a durable alloy known as cupronickel. This blend consists of 75% copper, 25% nickel. The copper provides strength, while nickel creates the coin's silvery color and resistance to corrosion. This alloy has been used in Australian 5-cent coins since the decimal currency system was introduced during the Australian decimal currency changeover in 1966. The material is incredibly durable, which is why coins from decades ago still circulate today. But that durability also means minting anomalies, like the 2016 brown dot, remain preserved in the metal permanently. During high-speed coin production, metal blanks are struck between two dies with enormous force. If a tiny fragment of debris, oil residue, or hardened metal becomes trapped inside the die surface, something unusual happens. Instead of producing a smooth strike, the coin receives a tiny embedded mark. In 2016, one contaminated die produced a limited batch of coins with the now famous brown dot on the obverse. Because mint workers regularly replace dies, only a small number of coins were struck before the die was removed. That limited production is exactly what collectors dream of. A small window of time, a short mint run, and a rare detail hiding an everyday change. Even though this coin can be worth a fortune, it still feels like an ordinary 5-cent piece in your hand. Its diameter measures 19.41 millimeters. Its thickness is approximately 1.3 millimeters. The weight sits at 2.83 grams. The rim is smooth and rounded, forming the coin's circular girth that allows it to stack neatly with others. But when collectors handle a very fine condition example, something stands out. The coin still retains strong details in the echidna's spikes. The lettering remains clear, and the brown dot remains visible without heavy wear around it. That preservation is extremely important, because if the coin becomes too worn, the dot can fade. And when the dot disappears, so does the value. Here's the problem. Most people don't know the brown dot matters. When they see it, they assume the coin is dirty. So they do the worst possible thing. They clean it. They scrub the surface with a cloth. They try to polish it away. But that brown dot is not dirt. It's part of the coin's metal structure. Once removed or damaged, the rarity is gone forever. That's why surviving examples in very fine condition are so scarce. Many were accidentally destroyed before collectors even knew they existed. When word about the 2016 brown dot 5-cent coin began spreading among Australian collectors, something unusual happened. People started checking every 5-cent coin they could find. Bank rolls, cash drawers, coin jars. Collectors weren't just looking for older coins anymore. They were hunting modern pocket change. Why? Because the brown dot is small enough that most people still miss it. And that means some of these coins are probably still circulating today. Hidden wealth, moving quietly from hand to hand. Eventually, a verified, very fine example reached the collector market. Experts examined it carefully. The brown dot was intact. The surfaces were original. The coin had never been cleaned. Once certified, it entered a private auction. At first, bidding was cautious. But once serious collectors recognized the rarity, the competition intensified. Offers climbed rapidly until the final hammer price stunned everyone in the room. $158,000. For a coin that originally bought almost nothing. That's the power of hidden rarity. That's what silent fortune looks like. If you find a 2016 Australian 5-cent coin, don't ignore it. Collectors immediately check 3 things. First, examine the front side under bright light and look carefully for a small brown dot near the portrait. Second, inspect the echidna spikes on the reverse to judge overall condition. Third, check for natural toning, the soft gray coloration that proves the coin hasn't been cleaned. If those details look promising, you may be holding something extremely valuable. If you ever discover a possible brown dot 2016 5-cent coin, remember these rules. Do not spend this coin. Even if it looks ordinary, never clean the coin. Cleaning removes original surfaces and can erase the dot itself. And finally, have the coin professionally graded by a trusted numismatic service. Professional authentication is critical before collectors will pay serious money. Right now, somewhere in Australia, someone is holding a 5-cent coin with a tiny brown dot on the front. They think it's dirt. They think it's worthless. They're about to spend it on something small, a parking meter, a snack, maybe a vending machine. And they have no idea they're letting go of a hidden treasure worth $158,000. That's the strange world of coin collecting. Life-changing money, hiding in the smallest places. So the next time a 5-cent coin lands in your hand, look closely, because the fortune you're searching for might already be there.